Agents, today we're going to cover one of the older builds. It's the Stinger Hive Seeker build, codenamed Stinker. It's a close quarter combat build. So it bases around Seeker mines to do the long range damage, and we're utilizing the Stinger Hive along with Hardwire to refresh the Seeker mines in the Hardwire build. In the Future Initiative build, we are counting on Skilled as the sole way of refreshing our Seekers before the cooldown. And then in the rigged gear set, we are sucking it up, just taking the entire cooldown, but delivering maximum damage. If you guys are one of those who's like, oh my gosh, this is too much info, just look down below. Hopefully there's some timestamps that will get you to where you want to be. All right, let's get into the builds. All right, agents, we're going to run with the Demolitionist. Of course, we will get the grenade launcher with that, as well as fragmentation grenades, which cause bleed. This will give us 10% additional explosive damage. This can be paired with both the two-piece Grupo Sombra for an additional 15%, or the one-piece Shine a Light for 15%. And if you combine this with both, that will give us the maximum of 40% explosive damage. We do have 20% additional burn resistance. We get armor kits that repair 100% of our damage and boost our weapon handling. We get access to the artillery turret, although we are not using it in this build. Group members get 5% damage to targets out of cover. When our armor is reduced to 0, it refills all of our main weapons. And the big one is Ignore Explosions, the Brace for Impact. Can only trigger once every 60 seconds, and you guys will notice there's a little buff on the buff bar. It's orange when you're good to go. Once you take the explosion, it grays out, and there's a meter that fills up. Once it fills completely up, it'll be orange again, and then you can ignore another explosion. Another thing we often overlook in the Demolitionist is you do get access to the small laser pointer, plus 7% critical hit damage mod. Alright, as far as the brand set, since we're using a 4-piece gear set for each of these, that limits us to a maximum of 2, and if you use an exotic, you only have 1 brand set that you can use. So in every iteration of this build, if we have 1 slot available, we're going to go ahead and choose the China Light for the 15% explosive damage. And if you are going to go with, say you don't have the BTSU gloves, or you're just going with a different build, you would go with a Wyvern for the plus 10% skill damage. There's a myriad of weapons you can use for this build. The top dog, of course, is going to be the Capacitor. And this is hands down the best damage buff for skill builds in both damage from a weapon talent as well as weapon damage from a weapon talent. Capacitance. Shooting at enemies builds stacks to a cap of 40. Each stack grants 1.5 skill damage. After 5 seconds, stacks decay 1 per second. So 40 stacks, you're going to be doing 60% bonus skill damage. I do wish that they would make this skill damage and repair. That way, healing build could actually take advantage of this as well, and a dedicated healer would actually be able to contribute some damage. And that's due to for each utility skill tier, gain 7.5% weapon damage. So at skill tier 6, that's the equivalent. You have 45% weapon damage. That's the equivalent of 3 maxed out weapon cores. So in this iteration we're looking at right here, this is equivalent to me running a 306 instead of a 006 build, because we would gain that bonus weapon damage right there. Since we are stacking some explosive damage, another weapon to note you could use, although I do not think it's of great benefit, but if you really like this weapon, you could use the Merciless. It's got the binary trigger. The weapon fires on both the trigger pull and release. If both bullets hit the same enemy, you gain a stack. 7 stacks shooting an enemy deals 500% amplified damage, so that's multiplicative, and creates a 7-meter explosion dealing 500% weapon damage, consuming the stacks. It does benefit from the explosive damage, so any explosive damage you do stack in this build will benefit the Merciless if you decide to use that. Alright, let's talk about the named weapons you can use. The top tier named weapons would be the Carnage LMG with Perfect Sadist. You can do 25% bonus damage to bleeding enemies. It comes natively with damage to targets out of cover, so you could of course roll damage to armor on it. Another top dog in this build would be the Test Subject with Perfectly in Sync. If you get something like this, you can get it with damage to targets out of cover as the lower attribute, or you could get damage to armor. Both would be effective. Comes with perfectly in sync. Hitting an enemy grants 20% skill damage for 5 seconds. Using a skill or damaging an enemy with a skill grants 20% weapon damage for 5 seconds. Damage increased while both buffs are active at the same time. So that's 40% weapon damage and skill damage. So while that's good, the capacitor is better. And I just don't like, for ammo reasons, I don't like running 2 assault rifles. So that's why I would choose to run the Carnage. But if you do not have the capacitor or choose not to run it for some reason, the test subject would probably be my second choice. If you want the long distance version of Perfectly in Sync, you can get a Harmony. This one is just about as good as it gets for me because it has the native damage to armor out of it. And we can get Perfectly in Sync and proc that from a distance. Another absolutely viable top tier weapon would be to run with the Mop. This gives you plus 12% damage to armor. You get 10% of your armor on kill. So in a build like using the Future Initiative where your bonus damage depends on you being at full armor, this of course would be a huge benefit. When you can use, say, the capacitor in your main hand, do whatever you want to do. You take some damage, you can get behind cover, switch over to the Mop here, get a kill with your skills. That will give you your armor back. As soon as you're 100%, you can swap back to your main weapon. In this one, I happen to have spikes, so while I'm waiting, I can pop out, get a headshot. With the shotgun, it's really easy, right? Because you got a bunch of pellets. All you need is one to hit the head, proc spike. You got 20% damage for 15 seconds. So now, not quite as good, but still awesome weapons you can use. You can throw the Surge into the mix if you want to have perfect spike. That way you can get the 25% skill damage. You run Everlasting Gaze if you want to get the 50% status effect damage and duration. And if you really want to try to maximize your damage, you can do something like run the Scalpel. And at the beginning of an engagement, before the enemy knows you're there, get a nice headshot kill, proc Future Perfection for the overcharge. Once that overcharge is procced, you can send out your Seeker Mines and start laying into them. All right, so one of the big things to keep in mind is you can either give yourself a bonus overcharge, or if you don't have an overcharge, obtain an overcharge through the use of Future Perfect. One final thing to note, if you are going to be running in a group and you want to benefit the group, you could use the Grudge as your secondary. And if you have a chance to take on a singled out weakened enemy who is bleeding from your Hive, you could go ahead, blast them down real quick to proc the Perfect Vindictive. Killing an enemy with a status effect applied grants you and all allies within 20 meters 18% crit hit chance and crit hit damage for 20 seconds. So this is one way that you can use this build and buff the damage of your DPS characters in your team. Well, technically buff everybody's damage. You can also go with the lesser version of Vindictive if you want it on a different weapon other than the SMG. It's only 15% crit hit chance, crit hit damage, but still that's a nice bonus for the entire team. All right, guys, we'll quickly go over the different talents that you could use on the chest piece. I personally run skilled with most of these builds simply to get as many Seekers back as often as possible. Ultimately, it ends up being the most sustained damage going with skilled. It is the least beneficial skill, of course, if you're taking on heavies that are solo by themselves. The second top tier damage perk that you can use is Glass Cannon. All damage you deal amplified by 25%, but all damage you take is amplified by 50%. High reward, high risk. Use it as you will. Moving from the S tier down to the A tier perks, one that works to great effect and is a lot of fun is Explosive Delivery. Whenever you throw a skill 1.5 seconds after landing, it creates an explosion damaging enemy within 5 meters. Damage scales with the skill tier, dealing 25 to 100% damage of a concussion grenade. Since we are at skill tier 6, we're of course going to do that 100% damage. And quickly to show you guys our grenade is at about 1.75 million. So that's a free grenade anytime we throw one of these skills out. Another perk that you could run in a group if you have somebody pulsing enemies for you is Spotter. This will amplify your weapon and your skill damage by 15%. Not as much as Glass Cannon, but it doesn't have anywhere near the drawbacks. One B tier perk I found, and that would be Tamper Proof. Enemies that walk within 3 meters of your Hive turret or remote pulse are shocked. It's an arm time of 2 seconds and a cooldown of 10 seconds per skill. So what this means is we can toss our Hive out, and anybody walking near the Hive should also be shocked. This will help to hold them in place. This can be beneficial against the heavies, right? Because you need to hold them in place. This will shock them, hold them in place. They'll take more bleed damage, more damage from the Hive, and give you a chance to either shoot them or relocate if you need to get into a better position. Definitely some better perks out there, but if your best China piece happens to have tamper proof on it, there are definitely a lot of worse perks out there. And this will take us to what I would consider maybe a C grade perk. Kinetic Momentum. When in combat, each skill generates a stack while active or not on cooldown. Stacks increase your total skill damage by 1%, total skill repair by 2%, up to 15 stacks per skill. So that gives us up to 30% skill damage. The problem is, as soon as we toss the Hive out, it starts stacking up. So it takes 10 seconds to get up to 15 stacks. So that takes damage ramp up, and oftentimes we're picking up the Hive again before it's even at max stacks. Because remember, we're trying to get the Seekers back as quickly as possible. Well, once the Seekers are out, we don't want to wait 10 seconds to be at max stacks. We want to throw them out. So they'll have a couple stacks. So what does all this come down to? In short, I'm using a lot of words to say it doesn't ever stack up to the max damage. It really isn't worth using. So that takes us to the possible backpack talents you would use. Now again, these backpack talents are if you are not using the Hardwire backpack in the Hardwire set. For the rigged gear set, we're using the Acostas. So keeping that in mind, we're going to want to use a talent that is going to synergize with Future Initiative and us trying to stay at maximum health. So, naturally, Combined Arms would give us the most damage, but we're not going to be using a hana-u, so we would only have the 25% damage bonus, not the 30% we get with the Force Multiplier Perfect Combined Arms. So, taking that out of the equation, where else can we get 25% skill damage? And that is to run a China Light with tech support. What that does is every time we get a skill kill, we get a 25% damage bonus for 20 seconds. So this is how, and this is what I recommend running to get your damage bonus and what to run with the Future Initiative. Now, if you want to, you can, of course, run Combined Arms. You may need to run some additional armor on kill or something like that. To each their own. Everybody has their own play style. Another backpack talent you could use for the Future Initiative would be to run with Bloodsucker. Killing an enemy adds or refreshes a stack of plus 10% bonus armor for 10 seconds. Now, if you are damaged, your natural armor is damaged, this will not do anything to bring you back up and gain that Future Initiative bonus. But if you get the kill, you get the bonus armor. That does allow you to pop out of cover, take some shots, do some shooting, and damage to that bonus armor does not take away from you being at full armor, and thus you can maintain your Future Initiative bonus to both benefit your skills but also your gun damage at the same time. Lastly, you could, if needed to, because it's China Light, you could run Strategic Alignment, go with Shock and Awe. Each time you bleed an enemy with your Hive, it would increase your skill damage and your skill repair by 20% for 27 seconds. This is a lesser damage bonus than anything else, but it does allow you to use the China Light. It does give you that bonus explosive damage, and this might be the best way in a build that you're trying to put together to maximize your damage before you can squeeze in the tech support or the Combined Arms if you want to go that route. All right, there's 3 variations of this build that we're running in TU12, both based on 2 rather new gear sets they have. So starting out with the new gear sets, the newest one we have is the Rigger gear set. And it comes with skill haste, skill duration, and the 4-piece gives us 10 to befriend. Interacting with your deployed skills grants the skill 25% skill damage for 10 seconds. This buff cannot be refreshed. Interacting with the skill includes using and deploying the skill. So tossing the Seeker Mines out automatically gives us 10 seconds, which is more than enough for them to go and find their target. Changing the skill's target, we're not using a drone or a turret, so that's not applicable here, but that is good to know for other builds. And then healing the skill. If you're using the Artificer or if you have a healing Hive, again, not something we're using here. Everything we're doing here is using and deploying our skills. Now, we are going to be running the chest piece, and the reason why is the talent Best Buds increases the damage buff from 25% to 50%. So that 50% coupled with our China Light, so we get the 15% explosive damage, we also get the 25% bonus damage from tech support. So after the first kill, between the chest piece and the backpack, we're going to have a 75% bonus damage right there. We are running the BTSU gloves. They do not have the skill damage, but of course, everybody knows why we're running these already. In this iteration of the build, our Stinger Hive does 955,000 base damage. The bleed is 47,781. This is not including any of the buffs that we would get from tech support or the bonus we would get from the 10 to befriend coupled with Best Buds. And our Seeker Mines do 2.477 million damage with a cooldown of 33.6 seconds, and that is important because we will be waiting the entire 33.6 seconds with this build. The next iteration of the build would be using the Future Initiative set. Gives us repair skill. Doesn't help us at all. Skill haste and skill duration. Okay. Doesn't really help us at all. I mean, the skill haste does. But we're using skilled, so we're going to count on skilled. Then the 4-piece ground control increases you, and if in a group, your allies' total weapon and skill damage by 15% when in full armor. And then the other part of this is not applicable, but when you repair an ally, you and your allies within 5 meters of you are also repaired by 60% of that amount. We're going to use the same China Light skilled chest piece. And in this build, we're going to be using the Acosta's a Go Bag. The Go Bag gives us skill haste, skill damage, and it's 2 different talents. One in hand, throwing a grenade, refunds it and grants +1 skill tier for 15 seconds. Grants overcharge if already at skill tier 6. And so once every 60 seconds, once every 75 seconds, you toss your grenade, you immediately have your 15 seconds of overcharge. Once the overcharge is done, the 60-second cooldown starts. So it's not once every 60 seconds, it's once every 75. But this is an easy way to get overcharge, and unlike the BTSU gloves, this gives us the 10% skill damage. So we can make up a little bit of our skill damage right here. However, it doesn't have the added benefit of resetting all of our skills, nor overcharging all of our allies. The second perk, 2 in the bag, +1 armor kit capacity, +3 grenade capacity, +25% ammo capacity, +10% repair skills, and +10% status effects. And that +10% status effects, of course, will help the bleed. Alright, in this iteration, we're looking at the Stinger Hive that puts out just over 1 million damage from the explosive blast and 57k bleed damage. And our Cluster Seeker Mines put out a damage of 2.788 million. So remember, all this will be buffed by that 15% damage bonus from the Future Initiative. And now the version of the build that we all know and love, and still the king of the mountain, the Hardwired Stinker. So every 10 seconds we can pick up and replace our Hive and get Seeker Mines back. Sometimes more often than that we get our Seeker Mines. Skilled will proc fairly often. We got the BTSU gloves in case we start running low on Hive or just want a big old boost. In this iteration, we're doing just over 1 million. We have 51k bleed. And our base damage with the Cluster Seeker Mines is 2.67 million. Sorry, 2.66 million. All right, agents, what this means, if we crunch these numbers, when we're using hardwire, we're looking at a minimum static 55% bonus damage from everything with the gear set here. And when we proc the feedback loop, we're looking at 65% bonus damage. Now, if we decide to pair that with the glass cannon China Light chest piece, whatever damage we are doing at the end of that equation, we will multiply that by 1.25. So we're not going to be taking that into account because ultimately skilled is the better way to go for actual gameplay purposes. So I'm going to go with 65% bonus damage is what we should expect to see the majority of the time using the hardwire set. And we should prepare to see Seeker Mines in approximate perpetuity. All right, guys, as far as the future initiative goes, this is going to be a 15% additive skill damage bonus on top of everything we have. So if we roll everything into skill damage on this, that's going to be the 40% plus the 15. So that will yield us 55% bonus damage when we are at full health and 40% when we are damaged. Now, once again, if you decide to use glass cannon in this build for any reason, at the end of these damage numbers, you will multiply it by 1.25. All right, agents, and while we have a long cooldown to sit through running the rig set, so there's a lot of damage potential right here. The only downside about this is, while this is theoretically going to give us, on paper, a larger damage bonus, overall, it's going to be a significant damage loss because we're not going to put out anywhere near the number of mines. So, anyway, now what we'll do is I'll show some damage numbers. We'll show some gameplay to see what kind of damage numbers we actually get playing. And then I'll finish this up with which one of these is actually the best build. All right, guys, thanks for checking it out. I'll get back with you in a little bit. All right, agents, now we're just going to quickly go over this is what happens if we use the 4-piece future initiative. We're going to throw on Acostas. This way we can use this to get our overcharge by throwing a grenade. And we will be using the China Light with the skilled in order to make sure we can try to get these Seeker Mines back as often as possible. I'm going to walk in, toss that, let these go, toss that. What's up, bitch? Come on, you can do it! Oh, I just lost my thumbstick pad. Where'd it go? There it is. Lost my pad. So really with this build, one of the biggest things is just getting the elements of surprise with the Acostas and the grenade. Because if you can do that, you know. Alright, so this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get a little more yardage out of it. I'm going to try to toss the Seeker Mines as far as I can, then see if I can immediately throw a grenade to overcharge these mines. So let's see if this idea works out. Okay. Oh! Now I'm pissed. Bitch! Who else is talking that shit? So, this does take a little bit longer when you're not getting the kills. And so what we're going to do... That was exactly what I was hoping that fuck would do. Let's just do this. We're going to throw a med kit just to get back up to full. Come on, dummy. I know you want to come at me again. Alright. Oh, you walked right into it, you dummy. Alright, it doesn't matter because you're going down right here, bud. Alright, 83 kills, 32. 347 of it was skill damage. 336 is explosive damage. Alright. Only difference in this one is I'm switching out. We're going to roll with some tech support though to see.
Assault turret detected. Rogue Stinger Hive detected. Rogue Mender Seeker Mine detected. Rogue.
According to the schematics I just pulled upstairs, it will lock that tunnel door from the control center. That's the extent of the force of more explosive
Alright, dude, I can't get the footage I need. It takes so long for them to get to the screen, jeez. Alright, so as we expected, a little more damage. We did fight the rogues instead of those other guys, so I don't know how much that offsets the damage. Doing heroic, using the rig set. The only way the rigger is really worth using is to use the best buds. So interacting with our skills gives us a full 50% damage bonus. Bonus. It's a bonus. Alright, we gotta take a quick break here after smoking that because that was easier than I thought. Alright, because all we gotta do here is get those dudes blown up. And now effectively, after that, all you actually need to do now. So the explosive guys, I'll just toss it right at his feet. Alright, alright. Fuck off. All of you. Yeah. Yeah. Fuck you all. Who else wants some? Dude. Dude, you should have fucking kept going, dude. Should have kept going. Yep. Told you. You're out of here, motherfucker. Alright, let's see how this build did. So I don't hate it. It's just, there's a lot of waiting around. And we're too squishy to really take advantage of firing our gun. We just don't have any sustain. Alright, but out of 418, 315 of it was explosive damage, and how much of that was 300,000 of it? So 75%, a little under 75% of our damage was explosive damage. This one, we're running with the 4-piece rigger right now to see how this does damage-wise. China Light skilled chest piece, and this same Wyvern tech support backpack. So all damage numbers should be based off of the same, base.
Outpost. True sense will be direct front to the campus.
Is not having the BTSU gloves. And just how slowly the hive fills up sucks. Please, there we go. Oh, did he land that on him? Perfect. Dude, I'm going for broke. Fuck you.
You want to hit that gun.
Alright, let's see how he did. Alright, so this one, 451 million skill damage out of 648 million total. Alright, so now we're looking at, so we'll be using the 4-piece hardwire for the feedback loop. We will be using the backpack, so a feedback loop will occur once every 10 seconds instead of every 20 seconds. So while I'm using skills, I gotta tell you guys, explosive delivery on this, I'll probably switch for a little bit. You know what? In fact, after this, there's skilled again. Look, now I got my minds back again. Right? So we'll stick this on, right? Explosive delivery. Right, double dipping. Toss this. So that'll create an explosion there. Now I'm going to stick this outside there. All right, you big-headed fuck. Let's do this. Here we go. All the chips. What happened, dude? You're talking all that good shit a minute ago. You guys can see it's pretty much interchangeable. Whatever you guys want to do is really the way to go. I'm going to tell you, I was really enjoying that explosive delivery. All right, let's do this. Fuck this, man. Let's do that. Oh, you're fucked. See ya. And this is why we use skill right here. That's why. So those other builds are cool. And there's a lot of fun to be had playing around with the different gear.
CQC being able to transport those boards as well as the TU62.
You suck.
Go on and have that go. It's even closed Tucson's infrastructure. We confiscated a massive cache of chemical weapons and eliminated a stronghold near the campus.
Oh, we did the least amount of damage there.
Took a lot of lives today.
Go figure. But that's because we get the least amount of overkill. We do just enough damage, but we have a lot more mines going. So the future initiative build idea is good, but the reality is it's better to run in a group and have somebody else, preferably a healer, using the future initiative. It's not enough bang for the buck. The caveats to using it are too much. It's awesome if you have full health, somebody else in your group is using the future initiative, so you just have that 15% bonus, awesome. If you're giving up another talent for the future initiative, or in the case of Hardwire, a whole bunch of additional mines, I just don't see it being worth it. Now, of course, if you happen to be in a group where somebody's using the crowd control, somebody's using Overwatch, and somebody's using Empathic Resolve, you're looking at getting up to a 40% damage bonus right there. In fact, even 42% damage bonus if the person with Empathic Resolve is in Overcharge, getting the full 15% bonus. The Rigger gear set, while it has the highest base damage and does kick out the largest numbers, the problem is the frequency of those numbers is such that it does the smallest amount of sustained damage, as we see by looking at the final card for any of the missions. So it's impressive to see high damage numbers, but at the cost of sustained damage, particularly when running solo, not for me. If you like the idea behind the Rigger gear set, you can achieve everything the Rigger gear set can get you and more by simply using the original high-end boom build. And you'll get more Seekers out. An interesting concept I did not try, but would be to run with the Rigger 4-piece. Go ahead with the China Light with Skilled and the Acosta's Go Back. The Hardwired gear set, in my opinion, is the best gear set. We do the most consistent damage, albeit the smallest damage numbers per mines, but we're putting out so many mines that you can see from the end cards. It does more damage. Anyway, the most important part is you guys find a build that fits your play style and works with the gear you have, which is one of the main reasons why I try to bring all of this. I did want to take a minute and thank you guys for checking out these videos. Thank you guys that comment on them. I appreciate all of you guys. If you guys like this content, please subscribe if you haven't. Smash that like button. Crush that like, yo. Do it. Do it now. And share this video with people who you think could find it useful. It'll help me to grow my channel. And if any of you guys can, check out my subscribe star. Donations can help me to have time to keep bringing this type of content. Thanks a lot, guys. You agents, take it easy. Be safe out there. And I'll see you all in the dark zone.